Hello, everybody. This is the welcome to this session on logistics and the physical internet. I will be the moderator. I'm Fernando Liesa. I'm the Secretary General of ALICE. I'm very glad to be here with you today, and I will explain you how we will run the session. First of all, we will have Paola Chiarini from European Commission DG Move that will set the scene for this session, and afterwards we'll have Marcel Huschebeck, who will do the presentation of the project Clusters 2.0. And afterwards we'll have a questions and answers session with all of you. In order to do that, please use the conversation facility in the left side, so then you can pose your questions there, and then I'll share them with Marcel as our own project leader. So now, please, Paola, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fernando. So welcome also from me to this session on logistics and the physical internet. Before diving into the presentation of the project Clusters 2.0, I would like to very briefly remind you of the policy context in which EU-funded research is developed. And as you know, the European Green Deal, which is one of the top priorities of the Commission, aims to reach a 90% reduction of emissions by 2050, with an intermediary objective of 50–55% reductions by 2030. And the objective is also well reflected in the objectives of the Future Horizon Europe framework program. In the program, the logistics part states that the research to be funded will have to ensure European competitiveness in logistics and mobility services while decreasing climate and environmental impact. So like most sectors, also freight transport and logistics will have to strive for climate neutrality. And we know that this is an extremely difficult endeavor, also considering how the demand for has increased even more than expected in the last month. Among all the aspects to be tackled, like switching to zero-emission vehicles, which is one of the focuses of this conference, increasing efficiency of logistics through a number of actions like collaboration, sharing of data assets and resources, intermodality, modularization, increased connectivity. So through all these activities, increasing efficiency is a key factor to reach sustainability. And these are not new objectives. In fact, in 2016, to increase door-to-door logistics performance and overall to strengthen the role of the hubs and retransshipment point, the Commission issued a call on network and efficient logistics clusters. And it's under this call that the Cluster 2.0 was funded. All these aspects, so increased efficiency, collaboration, connectivity, transparency, are at the core of the physical internet roadmap, which has been developed by the SENSE project and has been published, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And this roadmap is an extremely interesting reading and definitely will be taken into consideration to set priorities for future research actions in logistics. So I really strongly encourage you to watch the video developed on the physical internet, possibly to read the roadmap, that both are available on the technology platform ALICE website. And of course, please do this only after the presentation from Marcel on Clusters 2.0 and this session. So enjoy the presentation and thank you for your attention. Back to you, Fernando.
Please, Marcel, if you can drive us through the Clusters 2.0.
So welcome everybody to the session Logistics and the Physical Internet. My name is Marcel Huschebeck. I'm from the PTV group, and at PTV I'm working as a chief logistics research researcher responsible for European projects and national projects related to logistics topics. Today, I would like to give you an introduction about the physical internet and the relation of the clusters 2.0 for the physical internet, highlighting the three main topics that we have addressed. So this is modularization, intermodality, and data sharing, and their impact on efficiency, sustainability, and visibility and transparency on the European transport system. Finally, some, let's say, very concise outlook about what could be possible next steps, especially in the context of Horizon Europe. Some words about the PTV group. So PTV is a software developing company based in Karlsruhe, Germany, providing software solutions for traffic planning and optimization, but also for logistics planning and optimization. So we have a kind of unique position in terms of software optimization software in the field of traffic and logistics planning. And some calculation made by our marketing team show that daily about 30 million routes are planned and 20 million geocoded destinations are calculated. And using our software tools, we could achieve a saving of 70% of operating costs. So overall, our ambition is to make the trucks fuller. We can take care that the right routes are chosen. And we are aiming to reduce the empty mileages of logistics operation. Here's some brief introduction about the Clusters 2.0 project. So the project started in May 2017 with a 3 years operation time, so ending in July 2020. We had about 30 partners, so quite large consortium of quite well composed partners from different skills and expertise, research, but also logistics, industry, infrastructure, ports, IT providers, so a very comprehensive composed consortium. And within the cluster, our vision was to leverage the full potential of the European logistics clusters for a sustainable, efficient, and fully integrated transport system. So when talking about logistics clusters, how can you, let's say, characterize or define these kind of appearances? So clusters has let's say, various definitions. So starting with, let's say, the quite, let's say, historical one, defining it as agglomeration of production and logistics industry, attracting related industry. So this appearance is mainly to see in, let's say, old regions or old grown regions, like the Ruhr area, where you had a steel cluster, steel and coal clusters. So in these kind of appearances of industry can be recognized all over Europe and all over the world. Somehow different is the, let's say, the definition of logistics clusters. So we are talking here more about nodes along major trade routes to cooperate, of cooperating partners in order to reduce transport costs. So let's say the main characteristic here is the cost-driven aspect and let's say the linkage to corridors. A further definition is coming from Michael Porter. So looking here especially at the cooperation and the competition aspect, so that different companies are cooperating with each other in order to stimulate growth and innovation. And let's say this mixture of, let's say, historical clusters, logistics nodes, and this cooperation and competition aspect is also, let's say, feeding into this physical internet hub concept that is provided by the physical internet. So especially here the characteristics are to have fast, cheap, and easy and reliable interconnectivity at nodal points, that let's say the load breaking should be avoided, and also the cost aspect is considered, so that here lower price level can be achieved at transshipment. And these are also the guiding principles of the Clusters 2.0 project. So starting with the thesis that shippers could considerably increase the usage of intermodal services through collaboration and pooling of freight demand. We have realized this in three working streams, where we have developed various tools for that. So starting with the working stream on assessing, or let's say implementing or exploiting the potential of intermodal transport services for shippers. So we have here developed a methodology, which we call massification methodology. A tool was developed in order to easily assess the potentials along a corridor, which we call the quick check tool, and a comprehensive software suite, which we called Intermodal, in order to clearly assess and assign the potentials that out of a concrete shipper's order list, intermodal services can be exploited. We found out that clearly the issue of visibility and connectivity is a key success factor. And this was also addressed in two software solutions. One is the cluster community system, so a kind of cooperating information system, similar or comparable to a port community system. We have, let's say, modular box systems. That modular boxes can be placed on these new modular loading units up to the roof. And we can also, a tool was developed in order to easily assess the ports and airports in order to achieve here better and seamless process optimization. And finally, we added the key aspect of the physical internet, so the modularization to this concept, by developing a new solution, which we call that we can enable a fast loading and unloading, that we do not need a new or specific transshipment technology in order to carry out these operations. However, that it should also fit for automation as well as for manual handling. And also, we didn't want to add new weight to the transport process, so that it should be a low weight solution. And we came up with 4 design principles that we see here on the right side. So starting with a box solution, then we have a case solution, then we have a solution with hoods, where we, let's say, put on hoods on, let's say, unstructured cargoes. And also here in this combination of modular box systems, that modular boxes can be placed on these new modular loading units up to the roof of the trailer. We tested this in various scenarios. So we have loaded it from the back, used standard forklift technology, but also automated conveyor systems. So we tested it on the road, so by side loading with forklift trucks. We also had the handling within the depot, so with empty, but also with heavy cargo up to 2 tons. We tested the maneuvering on the ground, but also on higher levels, and also the NMLU on outside parking possibilities, so that it can be used inside the depot, but also outside of it. Overall, the results are quite promising and quite let's say, stimulating. So we could achieve or could realize clearly process improvements and cost savings. We could identify a positive business case, so that the additional cost of the NMLUs can be covered. And I think the most striking outcome is that we can increase the load efficiency with the new modular loading units by about 20%, and we can also reduce the waiting time or the loading time of trucks at the ramp of about 50%. So these are the 2, I would say, in my view, striking outcomes of this testing of this concept of the new modular loading. A second tool set or work stream that we have followed was the Modeshift concept. So we have realized this by means of 3 tools. So as said, so the quick check tool, this was a macro screen analysis in order to match freight flows in both directions. We have developed this massification concept, so a shipper's stakeholder workshop concept in order to pool, so identify and pool cargo. And we realized this in the, let's say, clusters in the cluster 2.0 clusters that are in Piraeus, Trelleborg, Tours, Trieste, Bologna, and Zaragoza. And then we carried out also a comprehensive analysis on the potential that shippers have with existing solution, but also with newly identified massification services. So where shippers could identify they have a lot of cargo stream, cargo flows along these corridors, and if services would be included, how can they be used? And especially in this intermodal scanning, so this was using this X intermodal, we have implemented these services, so the already existing services, but also the newly developed and newly identified services of a lot of stream potentials. And we used a large data sample, so of 220,000 orders from different shippers across Europe, and looked at these data samples, how can intermodal transport be immediately used then? The first step that we did was to look at the distances. So we looked at distances of larger than 250 kilometers. And out of that, we could identify about 4,000 lanes that are relevant in this survey. So we identified that 2/3 out of these lanes are mainly used for trucking options. So there is no actual service available. However, on 1/3 of these 4,000 lanes, so in total 1,042 lanes, intermodal services are already existing. So, and looking then at the evaluation results, so we could identify on these 1,000 lanes, 155 intermodal services that are already implemented. And for these, we could already make an immediate assessment of cargo. And we could find out that compared to the initial 220,000 transport orders, about 60% of these orders on these lanes could be brought on the already existing or on these newly introduced massification services. So this is, in my view, also a quite extraordinary result that where we can show that intermodal services could be used in a clustered and in the pool concept. Finally, we had a look at the slot booking app. So this is a, let's say, an app installed at the airport of Brussels. Here the idea was that we could create a community among the ground handling operators that are receiving the cargo from various forwarding companies towards the aircrafts. And here we wanted to improve the process that the arriving trucks are avoiding to park in the area of the airport and to wait that long at the ramp. So a slot booking app was developed that is managing then the slots at the ramp of the ground handlers. This mainly in order to smoothen the freight processes within the airport area, eliminate the waiting times, and create process visibility for these inbound processes. We made let's say, an assessment before and after, and found out that before it was about that each truck, so an average truck, was waiting about 60 minutes at the gates or at the ramp of the ground handlers, while after the introduction of the slot booking app, 65% of all operations could be handled within 0 to 15 minutes. Also here we could achieve a quite considerable reduction in the waiting times, so trucks are not waiting anymore in the area of the airport, and also the transport processes could be, let's say, executed much more smoothly than it was before. So quickly coming to the next step. So with Cluster 2.0, I think we are quite closely linked to the physical internet development and expectations. So in order to, let's say, identify where are the efficiency potentials in transport and logistics and how can they contribute to the reduction of CO2 emissions. Looking at the single elements that we have addressed and also in the Cluster 2.0, so we can highlight them after digitalization, so the help of IT solutions in order to achieve the ambitions of the physical internet. And looking at their, let's say, development level, we can assess that they are already at a high productive level. More disappointing on the outcome is a little bit, our question marks on the outcome is a little bit on the sharing aspect. So here, I think further efforts are really needed in order to facilitate and to enhance the cooperation among the different transport and logistics stakeholders. With regards to automation and modularization, here are high expectations, and there are already some market developments going on. So for example, out of the Modeshift project, large industry pilots are already implemented, and this provides some, say, promising forecast and outlook about the new modular loading units, so that also here, let's say, considerable but new achievements could be achieved in the view of automation and modularization towards the physical internet. With regards to optimization and planning, also here we have already achieved a good productivity in the solutions. However, in the combination and in the connectivity aspect, especially with regards to digitalization and sharing, I think here a lot of potential is to achieve and to help that the physical internet impact can be increased considerably. Finally, it is to state that key is in the combination and the hyperconnectivity of the different solutions. And in my view, then also modularization is one key important enabling technology. I hope with this short introduction about the Clusters 2.0 project, I could stimulate a little bit the discussion about the physical internet, and looking very much forward to the discussion following this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. And we have now, if please remember, if you have further questions, you can share it through the conversations function. Meantime, we have received one question for you, Marcel. Did you test the reloading tool from Rail 2?
Yes, this was let's say also a major part of the project. So we addressed this in two use cases. So one was that we developed a intermodal unit for this NMLU. So this is let's say the concept is that this NMLU will run, or let's say can be loaded on a roller bed concept that is used in some of the trailers. However, these kind of trailers are not yet existing for intermodal transport. And so a swap body was created with a roller bed technology, where you can load and unload then these NMLU on these swap bodies. And this was demonstrated and worked quite well. So especially in the loading and unloading process. So we could not test it on the main haul because of, let's say, permissions that we would need it in order to carry out. However, in this, let's say, terminal processes, this was positively tested. A second concept was that we use this swap body also for horizontal transshipment technology and automated horizontal transshipment technology, so that you can, let's say, bridge between, let's say, a shipper's ramp, for example, and a rail siding. You can automatically travel the container by means of a automated mover towards the rail siding, and then an automated transshipment is taking place. So this was also part of Clusters 2.0, and this could also be tested successfully. So in terms of intermodal, we have tested this. We have not tested it in the context of classical rail wagons, so wagon load units and these kind of things. So this was not part of the project.
Thank you very much, Marcel. Indeed, I posted also, I think people have seen it, the link to the webinar you organized on
Yes.
this, in which there is further introduction of this. I don't see more questions, but I have one for you, Marcel. It's you said that the sharing is disappointing, and indeed, what it's your learning on that one, and how, because we see in Alice that there are other ways in which people can share, making it some easier, the sharing. So then what's your learning there, and what's your proposal for the future, if any?
I would say that the key learning is that technology is not the limiting factor in cooperation. So I think a lot of solutions are there, and we tested it in the cluster community system, but also in the slot booking app. And so it's really a long way to go in order to establish collaboration or cooperation. So we had this, I would say, in my view, successful example of the airport in Brussels, where let's say the slot booking app or this community was established. However, it would need a lot of administration and a lot of, let's say, networking and convincing work, and a lot of trust in this system. And this trust can only be created by personal contacts. And so this was taken over by the airport airport provider or the service provider that was taking over this role, and he was accepted in this role. And so in terms of let's say progress that he could make, this was small steps that could be achieved. And so I would say in terms of cooperation has a lot of potential and provides a lot of let's say room for optimization and for much more saving potentials than we could let's say achieve on a single level. However, going this way and making this is quite difficult to do. And we have had several solutions which are exactly addressing this collaboration and cooperation topic. And we all recognize the same problems. So it's about acceptance and trust. And so I think these are the ways in order to let's say achieve and get to a, let's say, a higher level of cooperation. Technology is one way, but I would say not the limiting factor.
So should be the conclusion be that technology is ready, but people, it's not that ready. Okay, that's good. And I don't see any more questions coming. So if for the audience, if you have any additional question, or
Fernando, maybe if there are no other questions from the audience, a question to Marcel. Actually, maybe two questions. One, I mean, we have discussed this before, that the problem often is not technological, but it's really to have acceptance and trust, as you mentioned. Would you have any suggestions on how to support the creation of acceptance and trust? And the second question, and apologies if this was explained, but I had major trouble with the sound of the video. So on the intermodality aspects, if I understand correctly, your study showed that there was the possibility to move 60%, I think I noted 60% of the lanes and the operations to other modes of transport, so to
Yes.
the intermodal. Did the stakeholders you surveyed moved to other modes of transport, or how would you suggest that we go about to increase this modal shift? So two questions. Sorry.
Okay, possibly I start with the last one about this modal shift survey we did. What we did is we were using these data sample coming from shippers about their trade lanes and how they, let's say, transport on a European level their cargo from one point to the other. And we were matching this with already existing intermodal services and looked what kind of services can already be assigned and on these trade lanes. And so what we recognize is that 2/3 there is no service, or only, let's say, limited services are available. And out of that, this is mainly because this is going on not major corridors. So this is going east-west or far east, where no actual service is existing. So only trucking comes into as an option then for these kind of services. However, then for this other third, there are, let's say, there are already some intermodal services existing. And what we also identified, and this is then part of this massification process, we identified that on specific routes, there are already a lot of volume existing. However, there is no service in place. So we combined both, so existing services and these massification services, and looked how much of this cargo can be transported on these services. And there, these 60% came out. So this was quite astonishing. And it is that these are, let's say, this could be linked to the data sample. That there is, let's say, this is a kind of not representative, but there are, let's say, shippers which have a lot of volumes on this corridor, so it could be a kind of coincidence. However, there are, let's say, high volume streams that are presently operated by trucks, and that could be easily, let's say, transported on intermodal services. And just an example, this could be, let's say, on the link to UK, where no actual service is existing. However, a lot of volumes are going there. And this is also happening in the north-south when it's going more south to Italy. So you also have a lot of volume streams. However, they are not balanced, I would say. So this could be a limiting factor then of that. But if you had let's say, this was also surprising for us, this survey, that the potential is actually so high and could be exploited quite easily. So this is let's say, the learning out of this question. The more difficult is your first question, so about how to stimulate and how to, let's say, get more attention and acceptance into cooperation. This is a long way. So this is I don't have the answer. I would say this is technology is clearly so, but also here it is if it's not used, so technology has no value. This is and I would say the lessons we learned is the small steps are more beneficial than the large one. So that you go step by step, start with small applications like the slot booking app. It's not a, let's say, rocket science, something like this. It's a very small, however, very practical app. And so, but this helps, and you can demonstrate out of this small step the added value, the benefit, and then you can go into the next step. So this was the lessons learned. You have to do it step by step in small steps, and not, let's say, go for the big solution. This might be more helpful and more, let's say, successful, and possibly also in the end.
Thank you.
I think just to add on this question, if I may, Paola, what we see is that, and we are working on this next year through Alice on different ways to achieve bundling of flows and sharing, and we have identified already different mechanisms. So then, and the best way to enable this sharing, it's doing it without being in need to establish that you are collaborating. So, for example, as shipping lines are enabling many cargoes, containers going in the same ship, and that's of course a collaboration, because many of those shippers are putting their cargo in that ship, but it's enabled by the third party that it's trusted, as Marcel said. And we have seen in the last couple of years many of these examples going beyond shipping lines, in which particular companies or platforms are indeed leveraging the data and information they have. So then they make possible for their customers and other companies to get benefits and reduce empty running, or reduce empty legs, or consolidate goods, or even jump into intermodal services. And this is quite happening quite recently. But indeed, what we miss is a lot of support in non-technological research and innovation, really, to address those subjects that at the end it's maybe we have very senior technology there, but as Marcel said, if it's not used because there is not the other parts of the innovation address, the organizational or the process innovation, that it's also innovation, but maybe more difficult for people to realize. And and this was Frascati that was saying that, it's not myself, then it's where I think we have the issue on the impact on innovation. I don't see any more questions, so I don't know if you have any other question, Paola, or any other remark, Marcel.
No, fine.
So,
no, fine.
If not, just to thank you everybody for joining this session. I really encourage you to go into the Cluster 2.0 booth within this platform and visit their webpage. And actually, in the final conference page of the Cluster 2.0, you can find 5 webinars that are addressing more in detail with the companies addressing them, the contents that Marcel very briefly shared with us today. So thank you. And now you can move back to the lobby, and then, or it's time for lunch, and then you are welcome to be back in the conference in your preferred session as of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you, Paola. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you all the audience following up this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thanks to you. Thanks. Good continuation.
Goodbye.